Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our podcast.
In today's podcast, we're covering the Pixar film Finding Nemo.
Yes, finally. After Marlin's son Nemo's captured in the Great Barrier Reef and taken to Sydney, the tiny, timid clownfish sets out on a journey to bring him home and going on the adventure of a lifetime.
Yes, and before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get updates on future podcasts and World of Paws video.
Now this movie is a huge favorite of millions, hundreds of millions of people, including us.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, this movie came out quite a while ago.
I think in 2003?
Yes, but it's just an eternal favorite. It's one of the best animated movies ever done here, and it's a wonderful Pixar favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's one of those memorable movies that you'll always remember, no matter how old the movie is, no matter how old you get. You're always going to remember everything that happened.
Yes. And before we start, let's just give a shout out to the amazing cast that voiced this movie. Marlin was voiced by Albert Brooks, who was a huge comedian.
Mm-hmm.
Still is at that time when he did it, and he still is a huge comedian. Big star. And we had Ellen DeGeneres as Dory, and she was wonderful in the role. She was an adorable, lovable fish who had to get her memory things.
Yes,
in
so
order.
she had, yeah, because she had like multiple issues with that. And then you also had William Dafoe.
Yes.
As Gil.
And he's most well known by a lot of people for playing the Goblin in the original Spider-Man movies.
Mm-hmm.
But he's also known for doing a lot of action movies and dramas, and just a fantastic actor.
Right. And then you also had, who else? Brad Garrett.
Allison Janney.
Stephen Root.
Yeah. Jeffrey Rush.
Mm-hmm. And Vicki Lewis.
And then voicing Nemo himself, you had Alexander Gould.
Yeah. So yes, star-studded cast.
Yes, and there were a lot more, but that's just to name a few.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a simple premise. It's such a simple movie. Hey, Dad, you keep up with me a little too much. No, I don't. Yes, you do. No, I don't. Since your mother's gone, gotta keep an eye on you. And he loses them.
Yep, and he gets to get him back.
That's it. And it's so simple, you think it would end in 10 minutes.
Right.
But it is an adventure and such a journey and such brilliant, imaginative, creative, stupendous, wonderful, fantastic writing.
Right. And it also really stands out for having Marlin because, while Disney still stuck to their formula of not having the mom around in a lot of their movies.
This was Pixar.
Well, it's Disney and Pixar. So technically, it's still Disney. You know, Disney bought them after Toy Story.
What year did they buy Pixar?
After Toy Story, so like maybe in 2000.
Oh, okay.
After the movie's released.
Thank you. What you should know.
So for here, was one of the big things standing out for Marlin is that, you know, usually now, this was 2003, it wasn't as commonplace as it is now. It's usually when they have fathers in animation, they're usually not very bright.
Homer Simpson.
They kind of are clueless.
Homer Simpson.
They're negligent of their children.
Homer Simpson.
They have all sorts of issues where it's
Homer
like,
Simpson.
okay, the mom has to really take care of everything because the dad can't do anything in the animation.
They're Homer Simpson
clones.
Oh,
Right. And then, so what we have here is that Marlin's really protected. We find out why with the very beginning of the movie. And it's kind of a heartbreaking way to start the film. But you see that he really cares about his son. And the fact that he's going across the entire ocean to find him was really stand out because it showed how much he loved him.
And that was even really different. Whoever thought of having a script or a movie where you have the mom and an entire school of fish lost.
Right.
And he was the only one left.
Right.
So that there immediately, it got you into the movie. It got your attention. It got you wondering, as soon as you saw it, what's going to happen now?
Right.
Immediately, that was the thought. No matter how old you were, what's going to happen now.
Right.
And then beautifully, Pixar showed you what.
Right. And seeing how they based off all the fish and the environments after all the places in the ocean is very beautifully animated, very detailed. They kept true to the oceanography of pretty much everything in the ocean, whatever fish they wanted to model their characters after. And they also had like very standout personality, especially when you get to what they call the tank gang. They always call
the
them.
dentist's office. Yes.
And they're all so knowledgeable about dentistry despite none of them having teeth.
And they're so excited about it because this is all they see all day, every day.
and Gil stood out because it was like you see all these fish and all pretty, upbeat and happy-go-lucky, and they all got their issues, but all the fish in this office got issues because they're stuck in one place.
Yes.
And Gil's like one of those like old soldier type fish, and I always said to Mom, I was like, okay, like years later, I said, okay, so he's like a fish version of Shiro.
Yes.
Because he's got a missing fin, he's black and white, he's got a scar, he's seasoned. Just like, okay, is this just Shiro the fish?
Oh my gosh. And the pelican was absolutely brilliant.
Right, the pelican, that, and then the mine, the seagulls, mine. And you always remember those things just for the fact they're saying that.
And if you go back to the ocean and all the danger that lurked everywhere his father worried about, and you had a turtle, and you had some sharks, and you had fishermen.
Right.
And he had a positive attitude. So the universe took care of all these obstacles and things for him.
Right.
And the turtle was like, it was Greg Sipes' role he was born to do before he could do it.
Right.
But the turtle was so Greg Sipes.
Right. And you have the vegetarian sharks.
Yes. They
started a group where it's a fish are friends, not food.
Of Shark Tale.
Yes, fish are friends, not food. So they started this whole little therapy group where they were learning not to eat fish. And they so far 3 sharks. So let's see if that we never got to see, unfortunately, if they ever grew, but it was still funny to see that they were trying not to hurt the little fish.
Yes.
It's all right. Why trust a shark?
And then they met Dory, who was the friendliest part of the ocean and the sweetest fish, and she had short-term memory loss. And some of her lines were brilliant and funny, and somehow, inadvertently, she gave Nemo something that was missing that he didn't have, along with his dad later on.
Right.
And it was brilliantly done. Again, it was just brilliant. Ellen DeGeneres was perfect for the role. Her voice was excellent, and of course her comedy is always spot on. And that's another part of this movie that just worked. Everyone that was cast in their roles were perfect, absolutely perfect. And you can't imagine anyone else having done those roles.
Right.
They have truly become spotlights for each and every actor who voiced their characters in this movie. And also for children during that time, including you, it introduced them to, of course, actors they never knew. And then when they became older and learned who these actors were, they, oh my gosh, that was so-and-so really? Oh my gosh, that was so-and-so really? So it's like, this movie is like what The Emperor's New Groove was for the voice actors of that movie. They'll forever be known in those roles, and it's the same thing with Finding Nemo.
Right. And this is a movie that's always going to stay with you. If you happen to not have seen it, you really got to see it, because it's definitely one of Pixar's best films ever made. And they are really well known for having really creative movies and stuff concepts you never would have thought of making into a film. Just like with Monsters Inc. and Toy Story and The Incredibles and stuff.
Absolutely. And it really showed you what Pixar was capable of, why Pixar was such a valuable commodity, why Pixar was destined and going to be around for decades to come, and will be around, I should say, for decades to come, because of quality of movies like this, and just the how the movies are on a whole, every component and concept, everything that's involved, perfectly meshed together, making brilliant movies.
Right.
That's Pixar.
Absolutely.
So, we know you've seen Finding Nemo. Let us know what you think in the comments below, including how old you were when you first saw Nemo, and if you also watched the sequel, Finding Dory, which took place years and years and years and years later.
After so much begging.
Right.
And be sure to like, subscribe, click notification bell to get updates on future podcasts or Motor Paws videos.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for watching. I'm Matt School Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a fantastic day.
Peace.
And the water sitting, flashing lights. Trying to walk around, man, who the hell are you? What you wanna do? Well, man, it's on you. Man, it's on you. With her in my dreams, she was my queen. A castle in the mountaintops, rivers and streams. Plucking sunlight from the sky.